Have you ever had a cobra try to enter your house? Well, let me tell you, that certainly hasn't happened to me, but it has happened to a special friend of mine from Africa. This person's name is Davis Kalunji. Davis came to America with the Ugandan Children's Choir. The choir traveled all around the country for 1 year, blessing and singing to people when they performed. When they had breaks in their schedule, Davis would come spend the night at my house. Our family had no idea how blessed we were to have Davis come to our house. Davis was an 11-year-old boy that weighed 40 pounds. When we had to send him back, he grew 8 inches and nearly doubled his weight. Now that is the result of eating like an American citizen. When I think of Davis, the Bible verse Nehemiah 8:10 comes to mind. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Davis had overflowing joy in spite of coming from hard circumstances. I first met Davis in July of 2012. We had signed up to host a child in our home, and we were going to meet him at Skipstone Academy. To be honest, I have really never met anybody from Africa before, so I didn't really know what to expect. We walked in the room with 20 African boys and girls with the biggest grins on their faces. The tiniest boy in the group ran up to us and gave us a big hug. He said, "I am Davis," with a thick African accent. My mom took us to Chick-fil-A for lunch. We quickly realized that he had never been to a restaurant before. My mom asked him if he wanted some chicken. Then he started jumping up and down, because in Africa, they only get chicken on Christmas, so you can bet he ate every single bite. We took him back to our house and introduced him to go-karts, bikes, Nerf guns, and his favorite, American Pie pizza. He was so appreciative and grateful for what he was given. Once he even pulled out a piece of plastic from the trash and treasured it like a toy. It was very obvious that Davis was from a different world than us. He said sometimes in Africa they would only get to eat once a day. He would have to climb up in trees and pick avocados, and sometimes monkeys would bite him off and scratch him. He often saw animals such as lions and cobras attack smaller animals in the village. He was sent to an orphanage when he was 5 years old because his mom couldn't afford to feed him or provide him an education. He shared a bed with 2 or 3 different kids and only had a couple pairs of clothes. The only shoes he had ever worn were worn-out flip-flops. Still, he always had a smile on his face and deep joy within him. Even though Davis had nothing, he was the most generous person I have ever met. He often would cook us special bonded meals. I'll never forget how shocked he was when we heated up beans in the microwave for 30 seconds, because it takes 6 hours to make beans in Uganda. When my relatives would give him money, he would always want to share it with me and my brothers. On Christmas, he insisted on everybody buying gifts. He was so grateful for every little thing, and he wanted to give it back. Now compare that to us. A lot of the time we complain about not having the right name brand on clothes, or having to wait too long in a restaurant to be served food. In my house, we can barely close our drawers because they're so full of clothes and toys. Yet we still ask for more. Somehow we have all this stuff, but the one thing we're really missing is true joy. At the end of the year, Davis went home to Africa, which is one of the saddest days of my life. We thought that we were going to bless Davis, but instead he ended up blessing us. He taught me so many things about what true joy really is. You see, when I met Davis, I did not have a lot of joy. I was going to a big middle school that caused me to spend most of my days sad and worried. I had a hard time understanding how God could give me joy, even when my days were hard. But when I met Davis, I realized his life was a lot harder than mine. But his joy was so much bigger. Davis's joy came from his love for Jesus, which is not dependent on circumstances. So you see, that's the difference between happiness and joy. Happiness depends on happenings and can come and go very easily. But joy stays with you forever and doesn't change even though your circumstances are bad. God gave Davis a heart that is thankful for the littlest things, which produce him great joy. Like what Nehemiah 8:10 says. Davis changed our family for the better. He opened our eyes for the needs of orphans, and we wanted to adopt him, but his mom was still alive. However, that is what led us to adopting my 2-year-old little sister, Camille. Like Davis, she is full of joy and smiles. We hope to visit Davis one day in Africa so he can meet Camille. I am so thankful I got to spend that year with Davis. I will always remember his smile and joy, even as he headed back back to the orphanage. When I'm tempted to complain, I think of Davis. I remember how his love for Jesus gave him joy and strength. Now I want to be like that. So I encourage you today, as well as whatever difficult situation you're facing, remember how much Jesus